For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss, Paulie Howard. We're live in downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. Thursdays are always loaded to the gills in 30 minutes. Fantasy Football Hall of Famer Paul Charchian on the program. We will ridicule him about his DeAndre Swift selection from last week. Great analysis. Gone wrong.
It happens.
It does, of course. Yeah, Steve Wiss on the program today and Brad Powers, college football as well. I'm kind of lost. So we did mornings for 7 years. Rarely, if ever, had any live sporting events at that time. We've been doing this new time slot for a month. We had day baseball 2 days. I loved it. We don't have it right now. I don't know what to do with myself. What? Come on.
Tough scene.
Baseball can't, we can't have Brewers Mets right now, first pitch.
Got a hockey game Tuesday at 1:30. I'm
okay.
Fired up for that, buddy.
We'll do play-by-play for that for half an hour straight and see how that goes over. So we do have that game coming up a little bit later on tonight, and of course a Thursday night football game as well. Falcons favored by 2.5 total, now 43.5 or 44 at most spots. I did bet the Buccaneers earlier in the week. I personally have more interest in player props tonight. What say you?
Yeah, and a deep dive into it as well. I did, as we mentioned, I bet Tampa. I'm going to go against Vito's son here. I can't trust anything Atlanta's doing. You know, it's been a funky year for the Falcons. They should have won week 1 and lost week 2. It flipped. They should have won week 3 and lost Sunday, and it flipped. So 2-2 feels about right.
That probably is correct, yeah.
But, not getting the ball to Pitts, don't you? What you're going to get week in and week out from the offense, and what are you going to do with the rushing attack? I mean, you can run on Tampa, but they've had issues the last couple of weeks running the ball. The outlier was what they did with Robinson in the Monday night game against Philadelphia. So, and the odds makers don't know what to do with it. Like at DraftKings, Atlanta's plus 170, Tampa's plus 180, New Orleans plus 220. Like, they have no idea who's going to win this division. I'm going to back the team tonight with the quarterback who's playing out of his mind and has been the way for a couple of years in Tampa, in the 3-time defending division champs, that Baker's 4th in passer rating and top 5 in touchdowns and yards. And even with the injuries, I think they're going to find a way to get it done. And I can't get there with Cousins right now.
Yeah, so it doesn't always go this way, right? Like, we can look at the quarterback-coach combination tonight. Clearly, right now, Baker Mayfield playing better football than Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins still looks like he's not close to being back to, near what he was last year when he was playing at that MVP level. Can we say Todd Bowles clearly better coach here too than Raheem Morris?
Yes, that's fair. Oh, yeah.
Clearly he might be strong, but he is a better head coach. I mean, that's just, I think, period, point blank. I mean, that's pretty obvious to maybe the entire audience here. But I said this on Sunday, going back. I'm like, McVay and Matthew Stafford against Eberflus and Caleb Williams, that's clear edge. Didn't play out that way. Now, as for tonight, this is why the player props to me and breaking down games, it's just a totally new dimension to betting football, and it has been now for quite a while. But I'll make a case for a couple of guys. One guy I think is very popular. The other guy is completely under the radar. I'll start with him first. So this past weekend for the Buccaneers, I know that you made a case for Jalen McMillan a lot this year. He was inactive. Trey Palmer left the game with a concussion. Their wide receivers number 3 and 4. They are both out tonight. Sterling Shepard came back and played his first game in like 700 plus days. He was injured. He had 3 catches for 51 yards. He played 50 snaps in that game against Philadelphia, 65% of the offensive plays. And there were some great quotes that I really fell for after the game because Shepard played at Oklahoma with Baker Mayfield, and they were essentially talking about how much they love playing with each other. So that's a big indicator to me. And Baker Mayfield has this great personality, and he actually said that Sterling Shepard, he's got a couple of screws loose, but that was the quote. A couple of screws loose, but great energy, and it was great to have him back on the football field. And then Shepard talked about how much he has loved playing with Baker Mayfield and missed it. And he felt like he completely appreciated what was going on the entire experience on the field against Philadelphia. I think there might be something there.
Yep.
Obviously, he's the third guy now tonight. Godwin and Evans will get much of the focus, but I think there's something there with Shepard. And his yardage prop is 19.5. Certainly doable. A couple of catches, he can go over that number.
I played that in a little ladder bets, and also I did some stuff with Otten, too.
So did I.
I think could be a big point in this game and be involved with some touches. And if you want to get nuts, 23-1 first touchdown. It's also been the year of the kicker. Hard to ignore, though, what Koo did last week. I got involved with kicking props, both teams to make a 33-yard field goal, plus 105. Koo over 1.5, minus 140. McLaughlin over 1.5, minus 130. Koo hit a bunch last week, hit for the game winner from 58. McLaughlin has made 25 in a row during the regular season. Both guys really, and the other one, the books need to adjust this, and they really haven't. Longest made field goal of the game. Like, if this guy can come out from 56, both of them, no problem. Week 1, McLaughlin on the first drive of the season hit from 56. Mm-hmm. So you can't put up 47 and 48 for longest made field goal with these guys.
So they actually, remember early on, they were putting up 46.5 for some of these games. Now tonight it is 48.5. So they made it 2 yards more. But I do agree with you that we have 50-yard field goals coming in at a rapid rate now, still on the season.
These guys, it's not a problem, no doubt. There's at DraftKings, they have a stats are for losers special bet in light of what Morris said Sunday. Pitts to have 5 receptions or more is 4-1.
I'm not betting that.
I know.
There's no way.
Know. That should be a London game. He should be involved. He should have a big game through the air. But then what do you do with Algier and what do you do with Bijan about who's going to get more carries? That's both teams, by the way.
I know.
Who's going to get the majority of the touches and how's this going to work out in both backfields?
Well, Charch is going to be awesome on this in 25 minutes by almost every indicator here with the Buccaneers. Like in that backfield, it's not going to be Rachaad White anymore as the main focal point. It's going to be the rookie from Oregon, Bucky Irving. And so his yardage prop was 43.5. And like, I saw something today, like every time he gets at least 8 carries, he goes past that number. That's all he has to basically get if he maintains that average, which is maybe a little bit difficult to do, but that's only getting 8 carries. So what if he gets like 12, 13 of those carries tonight? It sounds like we're going to only make the case for overs here. I can't bet an over with Rachaad White. There's no way, no how.
Yeah.
The only way would be the receiving yards because I can see them maybe. I'd like to go under if they're not lying tonight, right? Then I definitely want to go under his rushing yards prop and then maybe make a case for Bucky Irving to go over his rushing yards on top of it. Charge probably with more intel coming up in about 25 on that, the split on what they're going to do.
London and Evans to combine for 125 is $1.50. You have to lay $1.50 there. You can do that too. You want to do your Algier prop? You think he'll have a catch? Can he have 5 yards, 6 yards?
See, I did not get involved in this because you want to talk about adjusting now. Again, this was a half a yard when they played one of their earlier, that was Monday night against Philadelphia?
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago. It was only a half a yard. So they bumped that up a little bit, and I don't want to go down that path again.
Okay. And I also I threw pizza money on this. Will each team have a touchdown and a field goal in both halves? 16-1. With these kickers?
Yeah.
And you get these, I think that's doable, but it's...
So how did you bet Otten then? The catches, receptions,
I didn't do
yards?
I didn't do receptions. I did yards, and I did ladder bets with the yards. And I did first. I'm gonna bet first touchdown here coming up too at Circa, which is 23-1 as I mentioned. But I didn't. Same thing with Shepard. I mean, I like Shepard, but is he gonna have 4 catches? That's a little aggressive.
Okay,
I don't know. I can't do that.
I did his ladder yards up to 30. I didn't get too crazy. If you want to get nuts and go to like 60 yards, you can find, I think it's 8-1 or something like that.
Yeah, that's
I'm not
not
going to
bad.
go that crazy.
Yeah, that's not bad. I think I did 40 and 50 there.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah,
I also played K-Don anytime touchdown at plus 375.
Yeah, he's plus $1.60 to have 30. He's 3-1 to have 40. He's 5-1 to have 50. We got 50 last week.
We got 50 last week, so maybe that is something I will add throughout the day. Yeah. As for the baseball game that we have going on as well, you like Myers, the kid that the Brewers going to throw out there today.
I do. He's a great story. You know, he was awful in Double-A. I love the Brewers in this game. See if the Mets can shock me and surprise me. I've seen worse losses. Certainly what happened Monday in Atlanta. That's a tough loss. You can't lose that game. And the Mets had every opportunity to extend the lead. Condolences if you had Mets team total over 3.5 runs. You have 3 runs in the second inning How about the fluke where Alonso steps and trips over his bat, which would have been a run? Double play grounder to get out of the inning. So many times just one hit away from blowing it open. Couldn't do it. They should be going to Philadelphia. I was at Hoover Dam earlier. I saw Manfred. He's going to lose his mind if it's Milwaukee and Philadelphia and not Mets and Phillies, considering we already have Padres, Dodgers. But this is tough. And I don't. Now, Quintana's been great.
He's been really good.
Other than what happened last time out against Milwaukee. But Myers was great last time out against the Brewers. The kid has been dynamite down the stretch. I played over 3.5 strikeouts, minus 130, a 2.43 ERA going back in those 20 appearances. This kid's been strong.
Been really good. I will give you this.
That the moment's maybe too big, but I know if they're going to play these games where give me 4, give me 5, whatever it's going to be, I certainly trust the Milwaukee bullpen a lot more than the Mets bullpen.
You have to. When
it's not even close.
Right. It's all hands on deck against second best bullpen ERA in all of baseball this year, speaking of Milwaukee. Now, Williams and McGill did throw yesterday, but that's fine. They can come back and throw again today. So with that in mind, Myers has pitched exactly 4 innings in his last 3 appearances. 2 of those were starts. One of those, it was in fact the Mets game where they threw it open and then they brought Myers back in.
He was great.
So he was removed after throwing 49 and 56 pitches. His outs prop is 12.5. The under is minus 160. So if you think that he can come back out for the 5th and get 1 more out, you can get a nice juicy return on that, expecting him to be really, really good tonight.
I think that's in play.
But I'm also concerned about how they're treating him now the last 3 games that he's pitched.
Well, but he was ridiculed for what he did with Fastball Freddie in Game 1, right? But again, with the bullpen, you can't lose that game. That's a bad loss. And now how do you bounce back now, knowing you should have made it to the next round? Manaea was great, but Quintana's been solid. That's the thing. He's got an ERA under 1 the last 6 starts before what happened over the weekend in Milwaukee.
All right, Paul's going to recap more of yesterday's betting action with Win Some, Lose Some. That's coming up on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Every Thursday at this time, we connect with a longtime friend of the show, Fantasy Football Hall of Famer. He is with GuillotineLeagues.com. The podcast is called Fantasy Football Weekly, and he is on the Progressive Guest Line. His name is Paul Charchian. Charch, good afternoon. Thanks for the time today. How are you?
Well, I'm surprised you had me back after DeAndre Swift last week. I thought that might be the end of the run right there.
Hold on. The analysis was brilliant, right? You went on for 2 minutes why it was going to be, he might not even play. This is what happens. Sports betting goes like this. It's hard to make money, right, in this world. And to be a pro at it, it's not easy. So everything you said made sense. Then the kid breaks out, has a monstrous game.
Yeah.
What does that mean this week against a bad Carolina defense?
Well, now I'm optimistic 1 week later. But the funny thing is the metrics were awful. Coming into the game, he was the worst starting running back in the NFL, and it made sense that DeAndre Swift there'd be, some kind of action on him to either just go, you know what, he's going to continue to be bad, or Roschon Johnson's just going to go take that job. And Johnson did score a touchdown in that game. But now we're back on DeAndre Swift, I guess. And I'm not wagering on this one, but he goes back to being fantasy startable for sure. And what feels like a very positive matchup against Carolina. I think they're going to kill Carolina in this game.
What? Really?
You're not the only one who thinks that, by the way.
Yep.
I've heard plenty of people make the case it's a terrible matchup this week with the injuries for Carolina.
Okay.
Yep. The injuries are a factor in it. Also, Jalen Johnson is going to erase Deontay Johnson in this game in a Johnson on Johnson matchup. And so, that's good. That's going to be one of the things. We'll talk more about that when we get to our betting angle. And then part of why one of my prop bets is anti Deontay Johnson. So we'll talk that through. We
are shocked and disappointed in Mike McDaniel and certainly what has happened since the Tua injury. Are we benching Tyreek Hill now?
Yeah. So he played that full week 1 with Tua. He was wide receiver 3 then. In the 3 games since then, Tyreek Hill has been wide receiver 48, wide receiver 49, and wide receiver 46. I don't think he's topped 37 receiving yards since then. And I did expect more out of Mike McDaniel, more creativity, find ways to get him the ball more often. And, Tyler Huntley obviously is by the way, how bad is Tim Boyle? If you're Tim Boyle, why are you on roster? On like Monday, they came out with, or Tuesday, Tyler Huntley's back as our starter. He just threw for 78 passing yards. How is Tyler Huntley automatically getting back in? And if you're Tim Boyle, what are you even doing on a roster at this point? And so is Tyreek Hill benchable? I think he is this week. He's my wide receiver 30. Oh. So, he's right in that range. Here's the thing I don't like about this matchup. It's New England. For everything that's going wrong in New England, you know what they got are two really good corners, Chris Gonzalez and Jonathan Jones. Gonzalez gives up 23 yards per game in his coverage. Jones gives up 35 yards. That's it. Hill at this point is somebody you have to consider as a flex level starter, but you know what's going to happen. The moment you bench him, he's going to rip off one of those plays where he breaks 6 tackles. He stiff arms a back judge, and then he forward flips into the end zone, and it's an all-time highlight. But nevertheless, I'm with you. Just the reality is this offense is totally broken right now.
Yeah, only took one shot down the field as well. It was ugly. So Henry, unbelievable performance and what he's done the last couple of weeks. Offensive Player of the Year category and candidate as well. But what's he doing to the passing attack? And Andrews doesn't even get a target anymore. So what do we do with these other Baltimore guys not named Henry?
Yeah, everybody else is dying because Derrick Henry's so good and dominating. They rebuilt that Ravens offensive line in the offseason, and it took a couple of weeks to get the line going. Oh, but now they're doing exactly what Derrick Henry needs. Henry's always been the guy where he needs to get up to speed. You have to give him yards before contact, and that's what this offensive line is doing now. And it's officially killed the passing game. We're looking at the last 2 weeks, getting 15 and 18 attempts from your quarterback, Lamar Jackson. There's no volume to be had, and the tight ends are officially dead. I've dropped Mark Andrews in every league I had him in. I've dropped Isaiah Likely, and to your point, Andrews going without targets. He's not even running routes. Last 2 weeks, Mark Andrews ran 6 routes and 10 routes. That's it. Starting Mark Andrews is more dangerous than hosting a PTA meeting at Diddy's house.
Oh, boy.
That's dangerous.
Baltimore,
maybe
second from the bottom in pass play percentage so far.
It's crazy.
Even Zay Flowers is really good. I love Zay Flowers. He's a good receiver. Can't really even start him. And I don't like him in this game against the Cincinnati starting corners. They're good. There's just the passing game is dead to us. Anytime you think Baltimore's going to score points, you have to think twice about starting any part of that passing offense, except Lamar Jackson, who continues to run okay. But even he's going to have more variation in his output with the low volume in passing.
So are you saying that metrics like DVOA can be a little deceiving because Baltimore, not only do they have the number 1 ranked offense DVOA wise, they have the number 1 DVOA rushing offense, but they also have the number 1 passing offense per DVOA.
Yeah, right. And DVOA is looking for just what's your effectiveness.
Yes.
But the volume,
efficiency.
From a fantasy standpoint, and by the way, betting too, we need volume. You just can't accrue enough numbers on low volume. You can bet the under. Yeah. From a fantasy standpoint, there's no betting the under. We need volume, and there's a point at which it just, there's just not enough there. And Baltimore's at it.
It appears Adams is going to do everything he can to get to the Jets. But one rumor that was thrown out there was a landing spot was Kansas City. But what do the Chiefs do now with Rice getting hurt, and who's Mahomes going to throw to? And what do you do from a fantasy standpoint?
I want to be clear that losing Rashee Rice doesn't help anybody. There are people like, hey, wheels up Xavier Worthy. No, it was Travis Kelce. And Kelce did post the best game of his season last week, and Rashee Rice got knocked out early. But you're taking a freak off of the field who is the most productive player in your entire offense. And I'm including Patrick Mahomes in this conversation. Rice was a massive headache for opposing defenses because of his speed, his strength, his Deebo Samuel-like ability after the catch, where really it's him and Deebo. Nobody else turns a 6-yard slant into a 26-yard game like Rashee Rice did. Losing him at just an epic loss. And the defenses now are going to come in against Kansas City, and they're going to be able to dictate what they want to do on defense, because Rashee Rice meant, and trying to defend Rashee Rice meant you had to conform your defense around stopping Rice, which really almost nobody been able to do, but that's what you had to do. Now you don't have to. All you have to do is double down on Travis Kelce, take him away. Xavier Worthy's a one-trick pony. He's run straight and run fast. That's all he brings to the table. Take that away. Now they got to beat with Juju Smith-Schuster, and that's not happening.
Yeah.
So I do not find any positives in losing Rice this way. And by the way, while we're talking about Rice, did you see the deal with his mom?
Yeah. It's bizarre. Yeah.
This is one of the dumbest crimes in the history of humanity. Right?
I honestly don't know. So
you haven't seen this?
No, what happened?
Okay. So his mom, Rashee Rice's mom, this is on TMZ yesterday. She goes porch pirate. You know, where you steal a package left on somebody's doorstep.
Mm-hmm.
So she does that. But the problem is they've got a Ring cam, right? So they got the doorbell camera. So they got footage of Rashee Rice's mom stealing. Now, normally we throw out legally protective terms like accused and alleged. No need here. Why? Because Rashee Rice's mom is wearing her son's jersey and the nameplate on the back of the jersey says Mama Rice on it, which really takes all the doubt out of who exactly stole the package on the front of somebody else's door when you've got that on there. So yeah, not exactly a brilliant criminal mind, Rashee Rice's mom.
Bad beat. What are you going to do? Tough. You ever get red hot betting and think your picks are worth money? Juice Reel, changing the way sports bettors buy and sell betting advice. You and everyone else links their accounts into Juice Reel. All your history loads into the free app. Unlock the picks that real talented bettors have their money on. Get paid real money when other people unlock your picks. Fully transparent betting advice from real people only on Juice Reel. REEL. Download. Get it. Get the app now, Juice Reel.
Charch is going to hang out for one more segment. We'll get into player props for tonight and this weekend in about a minute here. What do you think happens with Davante Adams?
How do you like his hamstring injury?
Yeah.
I've got tightness in my hamstring from picking up this heavy phone right here. Yes, hamstring. That's it. The team that makes the most sense, and not enough people are talking about, Washington. Everybody's just trying to link him to his old quarterbacks. There's a lot more to this. Yeah. Washington's got all the variables that make sense here. They've got a young, really talented quarterback that would be better with him there. They have desperate need at wide receiver 2. They've got the cap space to give Davante Adams a new deal. And they're in first place. I mean, this is the kind of move that first place teams do. Washington to me is the team that makes the most sense. And I'm not going to come out and just predict that's where he's going to go, but that to me, it checks all the boxes to make a ton of sense. And honestly, from a fantasy standpoint, I'd love to see him go there.
All right, we'll hit player props for tonight's game up next. Also the Sunday slate with Paul Charchian next here on VSiN.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Welcome back as we continue with Fantasy Football Hall of Famer Paul Charchian. His podcast is called Fantasy Football Weekly. Website is guillotineleagues.com, and he is on the Progressive guest line. So tonight's action that we have Thursday Night Football, Buccaneers on the road against the Falcons. Baker Mayfield, for the most part, has been terrific this year. Does he cook again tonight against this Atlanta defense?
What a great story for him. I love this. He's fantasy football's third highest scoring quarterback behind only Jaden Daniels and Lamar Jackson, who run themselves into those kinds of spots. The matchup that I really like is in the slot. You know, Chris Godwin, they had him out of position running outside last year. They put him back in the slot, Godwin, where he had been so successful for the duration of most of his career. And he's just crushing this year. He goes up against journeyman Mike Hughes on his 4th team in 4 years. This is a really strong matchup for Godwin, and I'm really optimistic that he alone is going to help key Baker Mayfield into a really nice game tonight. And so, yeah, I remain very optimistic. I have Baker Mayfield sitting at, I believe, quarterback 6 this week. So I'm still very optimistic about his chances here.
How is it going to shake out with the backfield here? A lot of rumblings that it's going to be Bucky Irving moving forward as the main guy. Yeah. So how does that work between Irving and Rachaad White?
All right, so week after week, Bucky Irving keeps chipping away at Rachaad White's usage here. Everything's tightening up between the two. Snaps last week got all the way up to 60-40. Rushing attempts, 50-50. Routes run is starting to get close as well. And Irving just looks way better. Right now, here's some Irving stats for you. He's running back 6 in avoided tackle rate, which is one of my favorite stats. I love Irving there. And for fantasy use, we love touchdowns. Who doesn't? Everybody likes touchdowns. I don't know what his anytime touchdown is. It's worth looking up if you had a second. Here's why. Irving last week had a carry from the 3-yard line, different drive. He had a carry from the 2-yard line, punched in for a touchdown, but then they reversed it on review, got it down to the 1-yard line. They gave him the ball again, and he scored. And what's more, Rachaad White last week never touched the ball, air or ground, in the red zone.
Good.
20 yards inside.
Good info.
So this thing is clearly leaning towards Irving for the things fantasy people care about, and anybody who wants to bet anytime touchdown on Irving, this might be your play right here.
Looked at a couple of books. Charge, highest number I've seen so far, plus 175 on Bucky to score.
That sounds about right. I'd give some real thought to that because that's where this thing is headed.
What do we do in the Atlanta backfield?
Well, this is fascinating. Obviously, Bijan Robinson's great, and I'm not knocking him any, but we got to start talking about Tyler Algier, who looks really good and deserves more playing time than what he's gotten so far, and I think that might start to happen here. Tyler Algier's had 27 carries this year. Among runners with 27 carries, in yards per carry, Algier is 3rd in the league. Bijan Robinson is 29th. In yards after contact, Algier is 3rd. Bijan Robinson's 33rd. Avoided tackle rate, Algier's 14th. Bijan is 31st. So, I mean, I think if you didn't know anything about Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson, and you were just looking at the film as a neutral party that didn't know where they were drafted and what their pedigree is, you'd look at this and go, this is a fantastic 1-2 punch. This is like thunder and lightning right here. These guys should be in a 50-50 timeshare. But Bijan went, as a lottery pick, and everybody's very, very beholden to Bijan. But I'm telling you, Tyler Algier is running great right now. And don't be surprised if he just continues to be. We've seen the utilization going up every week. If that continues here, just because he's earned it, he's been that good.
All right.
Okay. Kyle Pitts, what do you want to do?
I want to drop him outright.
Oh.
In the history of the fantasy, and we managed to hit our bet on Kyle Pitts 2 weeks ago, but that's it, right? In the history of fantasy football, we have never been more conclusively and extensively fooled by any player more than Kyle Pitts. When he entered that draft like 4 years ago, we all loved him. And we thought we really loved it. And then we suffered confirmation bias when the Falcons picked him at pick 4, and we kept blaming Arthur Smith for 3 years and not getting the most out of him. But maybe Arthur Smith actually got more out of him than anybody else is going to. Right now, Kyle Pitts ranks 19th in yards and 27th in receptions among tight ends. And it's a disaster in a lot of fantasy formats, especially guillotine, where your season can end when Kyle Pitts gives you a 0 like he did last week. And if you look at the tape, Warren Sharp was nice enough to summarize all of his routes last week.
I saw it.
Dude's not even trying.
No.
He's jogging out there.
Yep. They're like 5-6 yard.
done.
Sorry, they're like 5-6 yard slants, and there's no effort there as well. Okay, some props. You teased it earlier. So since they made the quarterback change to Dalton, Deontay Johnson, $122 and a touchdown, 83 yards and a touchdown. How about going against the Bears?
Yep, we're going to take the under 62.5 yards because he has a brutal individual matchup against one of the best cornerbacks in the league, Jalen Johnson. It's a Johnson on Johnson sword fight as Johnson shadows Johnson in this game. Jalen is currently Pro Football Focus's 9th highest rated cornerback, and it's not high. It's not high enough. He is awesome. The passer rating on throws into Jalen Johnson's coverage, good quarterbacks throw their passer ratings around 100. The passer rating on throws into Johnson's coverage is 40. That's the 3rd best passer rating among all cornerbacks in the league. The average game that Jalen Johnson is giving up, 2 catches for 26 yards. That gives us 36 yards of cushion on the under for Deontay Johnson. And here's what the other top receivers have done against the Bears. Last week, Demarcus Robinson, 37 yards. Before that, Michael Pittman, 36 yards. Before that, Calvin Ridley, 50 yards. Now, Nico Collins did go berserk on the Bears, but it turns out Jalen Johnson didn't cover him, which was stupid. They should have covered him, and he didn't. And against Jalen Johnson in that game against Houston, Collins caught one ball for 16 yards. That's it. So I think they're going to just shadow Deontay Johnson, take him out of this game. We're taking the under.
All right, my friend. So usually we get bad matchups in London. This is intriguing. This is great. Your Vikings, your Minnesota guy. Vikings and the Jets. 2 props here. Same game. Start with Jefferson. Jefferson with Sauce.
Yeah, Jefferson against Sauce Gardner, which is the big headline here. And Sauce is great. In 3 of 4 games with the Jets, he's held opposing receivers to 9 yards or less in his coverage. Think about that. That is insane. Now, it's not, though, as simple as Jefferson against Sauce Gardner because Sauce plays one side of the field. So you might be thinking, Paulie, well, let's just put JJ on the other side of the field. The problem is that's DJ Reed. He's awesome, too. He's giving up 8 yards per game in his coverage. There's kind of nowhere to hide right now for Justin Jefferson with tough matchups. So you couldn't even attack the slot necessarily because they got a good slot corner too, Michael Carter, in this game. So Justin Jefferson's line is at 78.5 yards. And Jefferson's great. And obviously Sam Darnold's playing great, but I don't know where it comes from. You're going to have to invent some big plays that the Jets defense has not given up yet. And even in a great game for Jefferson last week, he didn't get to 78 yards. So, yeah, I'm off of this. I'm going to take the under on Jefferson here.
Okay, under him. How about we flip it now? Jets, you want to attack Allen Lazard?
Yeah, let's go over on Allen Lazard in this one. Everything's going right for Minnesota this year except one thing. Vikings ranked dead last in yards allowed to wide receivers. They ranked second to last in receptions allowed to wide receivers. Every opponent's number 2 receiver, like Allen Lazard, has gone over this line, 33.5 yards. That's Wendell Robinson, Brandon Ayuk, Stephon Diggs, Dontavian Wicks. They've all gone, and most of them gone well over it. For that matter, get this. Number 3 receivers have topped Lazard's line this year against the Vikings. Juwan Jennings, Romeo Doubs, and Tank Dell all also went over this line of 33.5 yards. Lazard's the clear number 2 option for the Jets. He's running 34 routes per game. Nearly as many as Garrett Wilson and miles ahead of the third option, Mike Williams. So I like Allen Lazard over 33.5 yards.
All right. One final receiver prop that you like in the last 90 seconds here that we have, Charge, and it's in the Ravens-Bengals game. Who are you looking at?
We're looking at T. Higgins going over 52.5 yards. Last week, it was his second game back from injury, and he saw his target share explode up to 34%. So we can assume that Higgins is back. He's healthy, reliable, maybe even sometimes explosive. Ravens secondary unusually susceptible this year. They've given up big games to A-listers like Rashee Rice and Devontae Adams, but also second bananas like Kevontae Turpin and Jalen Tolbert and Keon Coleman have done well. Ravens ranked 25th in wide receiver yards allowed at 163 per game. And half his routes for T. Higgins are set up where he'll be running against rookie cornerback Nate Wiggins. He's allowing a 75% catch rate. So I like T. Higgins. I like Higgins over Wiggins in this game.
I like it. By the way, I'm looking at Lazard ladder bets potentially 50 plus yards plus 210 range.
Ooh,
Juicy.
that's very tempting.
Okay.
Very tempting.
All right, buddy. Love talking to you. Thanks so much for the time and analysis as always. Best of luck this weekend.
Thanks, my friends. We'll talk to you next week.
Yep.
Thanks,
there you go. Paul Charchian joined us on the Progressive Guest Line website, guillotineleagues.com. Go check it out. Best format there is to play in fantasy football, in my opinion. And the podcast is called Fantasy Football Weekly. Good stuff there.
Yes.
Up next, we'll move into best bets in the soccer world as the meat man, Steve Wyss, joins the program up next. This is Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Welcome back. We're live in Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. Every Thursday at this time, professional sports bettor Brad Powers joins the program. You can follow him on X. He is at BradPower7. His website is BradPowersports.com, and he is on the Progressive Guest Line. Brad, good to talk to you as always. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me as always, guys.
You bet. We were just talking about this previous segment, right? Everybody's saying that this weekend in college, well, where are the marquee games? The schedule kind of sucks. There are 8 ranked teams playing on the road against unranked teams. Big favorites, obviously. I was asking Paulie, are we going to get chaos? Do you think we're going to get at least maybe a couple of upsets?
I don't like that everyone's talking about it. I mean, I gotta be honest. I haven't really ran to the window and bet one of them. Miami sounds, Cal beating Miami sounds good in theory, but I just think Miami had their wake up call last week. Yeah. So I don't see that one. Obviously Washington's favored to do so. So I mean, that one I will call. I like Washington quite a bit this week, but hindsight's always 20/20. I wish I would have saw that, but I really don't this week. More of the G5. I think there's some opportunities for some of these double-digit underdogs at the G5 level to win outright.
Okay. So would you think Washington is one of your best bets this weekend at home against Michigan?
Yeah, it is one of my best bets this weekend. I mean, statistically, if you had a blind resume, you'd say, hey, this is the home team's clearly the superior team. And at home, you think the line should be well above 3, and it's not. So why is that the case? Well, I mean, Michigan's 2-0 in close games, fortunate to beat SC. Last week, I mean, they just, they got a fortunate call at the end. I'll give them that, when you're up 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, you probably should win the football game, but still benefited from a controversial call there. Mm-hmm. And then Washington, I mean, a stupid play call. To run option against Washington State, a game that they easily could have won. And then they should have absolutely won last week's game. I would argue that that's maybe the most misleading final of the entire season so far. I mean, missed 3 field goals, stopped on downs at the 2, and then maybe one of the most ridiculous penalties in college football this year. Rutgers misses a field goal, and then a guy from the sidelines comes onto the field. Oh, go play it back. First down Rutgers. They score a touchdown. Then the next play, right? We're talking about seconds before halftime. So, I like Washington here to get revenge for the national championship, even though, I mean, neither team, pretty much anybody from that game is playing. I think it's a tough atmosphere. Speaking of atmospheres, it's the first time Michigan's hit the road this year. So I unless Dave Portnoy, gets that a new quarterback for Michigan, I'm not running the window to bet Michigan every week. I can tell you that.
All right. Well done. Right. Yeah. A couple $1 million. Excellent job reading your newsletter. And what do you expect now, not only this week, but moving forward with Ole Miss? If, according to reports, Kiffin's talking to the Florida Boosters, they were awful last week.
I mean, they were. I mean, obviously, the game plan's there now. I mean, Kentucky showed you control the football. They had it for about 40 minutes, and then you make Ole Miss try to be patient offensively. I mean, they had been hitting the home run, when they didn't play anybody, Little Sisters of the Poor the first 4 weeks, and I felt like they weren't patient offensively. They're like, the game's getting away from us a little bit. South Carolina will probably have a similar format. However, I mean, as worrisome as I am, I'm more worrisome that South Carolina offensive line that's allowed 16 sacks against that Ole Miss defensive front. I can't get over that matchup, regardless of the motivation here. So I lean Ole Miss.
Okay, you actually you were down on Louisville, and then you saw some respect for Louisville in the loss last week after what happened against Georgia Tech. How about Louisville laying 7 against SMU?
Yeah, I was down on them. I didn't like what I saw against Georgia Tech. Then I mean, they flipped the script a little bit against Notre Dame. They got healthy at wide receiver. Lacey came back. Probably their best wideout, who hadn't been there for the first 3 games of the season. There was that, and I mean, I just think matchup wise, it isn't necessarily pro Louisville here. It's also anti SMU. It scored 5 non-offensive touchdowns so far this season. That's number 1 in the country. That's not something that's great as far as a value aspect. This is also the first time SMU, believe it or not, it's been on the road since week 0. Last time we saw that, they almost lost to Nevada in that one. And right. I like Louisville's defensive front against this SMU offensive line. So. Shop around. I mean, there's a lot of 6.5s out there. I think that's right now on the current board, that would be my best bet.
Yeah, that game moved this morning, I believe, did it not?
Yeah, it's back and forth. There's competing groups on this one. Key number, people laying 6.5, then goes to 7. People want 7. I don't like SMU. I think they're a little overrated.
All right. Do you think Iowa can keep it within 3 touchdowns against Ohio State?
I wouldn't bet it now. They're taking money again today. I mean, we're getting down to 18 in some spots. I don't know what I'm seeing from Ohio State so far. They haven't played anybody. So, I mean, I'll put it this way. If Ohio State wins by 21, I'll still be happy with an Iowa ticket. So I can't bet it now at the current number.
Yeah, that's down now quite a few points, actually. What about Arkansas? Can they make it interesting against Tennessee or no?
I think they can, but right now it's all about, what's the current number and what would you bet? I like the under. I mean, the over. The under money's come in to the point where I like the over now, over 57. I think Tennessee's offense, probably on purpose kept it away in the second half of that Oklahoma game. They didn't have to do anything. I think Arkansas's, quarterback can maybe frustrate that Tennessee secondary by him running around and scrambling around from that Tennessee defensive front. So at the current numbers, my preference is over the total, over 57.
How about A&M Missouri?
Boy, I bet A&M at the start of the week, and then I start diving in more. And man, that offense, each game is getting worse under Marcel Reed, and I actually still prefer Marcel Reed over Connor Wegman. I don't know what I got with Missouri. I think they're generally speaking overrated. This is their first road game of the season. So instead of backing either team, I'm going to go under. Early start time, 11 a.m. local.
Right.
Two defenses that I trust more than the opposing offenses at this point, so under for me.
You have a piece of Florida at home as a dog against Central Florida?
I've not gotten involved in that game. Two groups that I really respect are on Central Florida. I can't bet Central Florida after last week. I mean, I can't believe no one's talking about that.
Yeah.
I mean, to fail to cover by 6 touchdowns and a home run spot was as bad of a performance, at least relative to expectation, of any team in the country. And I can't believe now we should be praising Colorado. The media should be. No one's really kind of talking about it. Now's the time they should be getting their flowers, Colorado. That was their best by far performance of the 2 years under Deion.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
I agree. That was a great win. No doubt about it. You have we mentioned it briefly yesterday, but the tidbit in your newsletter that service academies, when they play each other, 44-9-1 underrun. But wait a second, this is a completely different Navy team. What'd you do in the Navy game?
I didn't bet it, but the markets actually went. I mean, it opened 34.5.
Yeah. I
saw as low, and it's been creeping up about a half point each day. I agree with the market move towards the over. Navy's offense is legit. They hired a guy from Mercer who was the Mercer head coach. I've been betting that guy for the last couple of years at the FCS rank. So, I mean, he's going to be a head coach, period, at the FBS level in short order. How do you attack it? When it opens up more, as far as more widely available, Navy team total over for me. This Air Force team is a joke, offensively and defensively. Hell, they gave up 31 to Wyoming. Both teams are playing. Obviously both are below average as far as tempo, but it's not like either one is running the slowest tempos in the country. So a little bit above normal pace. They're both throwing it more than usual. I like the over.
Yeah, some numbers on that. Navy 4-0 to the over, going over on average by almost 21 points per game. Flip side, Air Force 3-1 to the under. And you said how bad they've been. They're 0-4 ATS. So the team total that we're seeing on the screen right now, 23.5. You mentioned when it's more readily available. What would you do with the 9.5 then in terms of the point spread?
I haven't touched it. We did see buyback today on the 10. It was got bought up a little bit. Yeah, I'm not wild about laying points. And with the limited possessions, Air Force will probably play their best game of the season. I still don't think it's going to be enough. So, again, if you got to get involved, that over 23.5 team total is how I'm attacking it.
You get an eye on the situation with North Carolina and Mac Brown? They give up 70 to James Madison. Are you going to quit? And then they blow a 3-touchdown lead to Duke?
I think Pittsburgh's a super sharp side. And we saw a movement from a super sharp group yesterday laying the 2.5. I think it's a really good bet. I have made that bet. I'm laying it with Pitt.
Okay.
Tough trusting Narduzzi, though, but they are off a bye. I like this Pitt offense. I'll tell you, good game to in-game live. If North Carolina doesn't have it early, it's blowout city.
Yep. Take your betting to the next level by playing the ponies on First Bet from Santa Anita, Gulfstream Park, to the Kentucky Derby and Preakness. First Bet has you covered. FirstBet.com. Promo code VSiN200. Claim a 20% rebate for your first 60 days, up to $200. Code VSiN200. Head to firstbet.com today. All
right, we'll continue with one more segment. Professional sports bettor Brad Power is our guest here on the Progressive Guest Line. Make sure you follow him on X. He's at BradPower7. The website is bradpowersports.com. So he called that a super sharp side, Pittsburgh. I want to get other super sharp sides, in his opinion, this weekend in college football. And, Paulie, you made the case yesterday on the program. In fact, you bet Boise running back Ashton Jeanty to win the Heisman. We'll ask Brad if he's worth a bet right now, around 10-1. Can he win the trophy? What has to happen overall? What do the stats have to look like? What's the record have to look like? More with Brad Powers coming up next here on VSiN.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.